I like to pause here on my tour every now and then if I think I have the time, just to show you these like ramshackle huts. They didn't originally go here. They're originally in our hop fields. And so when people were struggling to find work, to get money, couldn't find anywhere to live, a lot of people would come and work on the farm because they would get, for hop pickers especially, they would get to have a bed and shelter and work to do. And this is where they would stay. We don't list them on Airbnb, they're actually not up to code anymore. But we use them just for like refuse storage for like glass recycling and stuff like that now. But it's always a fun bit of information to do. To chuck in there. So it's a very efficient system. We don't have to get anything out of it. In it. And this hose that gets connected up here gets hot steam sent through it. So that travels through here and into the bottom of the trailer. Now our trailer has a slightly elevated platform that the lavender sits on, and it's got lots and lots of little holes, and the steam permeates up into the entire vessel. And this only takes 10 minutes to heat up to 100 degrees C. Very, very good. So when it reaches 100 degrees C after about 10 minutes, the cells in the lavender start to burst and release the oil. This gets carried up with the steam through the pipes that are coming out the top. You can see it's just a few silver pipes that come out of the top there, and they go into the main building of the distillery. So if you follow me around there, we'll go and see where they go. Lots of coils of cold water that condense the steam down into here. And those of you that have done even a day of cooking in your life will know the oil doesn't like water and it separates. So we have the oil that comes to the top and the water that sits on the bottom, and we siphon them out individually. So the water on the bottom is also distilled, and that is what is known as hydrolat, and it's basically just lavender water. And this gets used for things like if you dilute it and put it in a steam iron, or just spraying onto clothes before you iron them and to help get those creases out. And then we use the oil in lots of different ways and lots of different products, but it did originally start as just us selling oils. If you look over here, you'll see there are some years and there are some numbers. These are the yields per year. So between, I think it's 2020 and 2022, we had the same amount of lavender in our fields. So what we tend to do is lavender only lasts about 15-16 years before we take up that plastic and have to replant into the same field again. So we tend to have a bit of like rejuggling, a bit of shifting around of which fields have lavender in them, which year, which fields have other crops in them. But between those two dates, we had the same fields full of lavender. And you can see that the numbers are fluctuating quite a lot. You've got 2,700, 800, 3,275. There's a big difference, isn't there? And this is because of weather. I'm sure you've all watched Clarkson's Farm or seen clips, so you know how much of a difference that weather makes in the whole process. In 2021, we had a frost in April, which basically killed off some of the growth that had happened. And then it just continued to be a really wet year. And as I've said, lavender doesn't like to be wet, and that stops it producing as much oil. In the following year, we had lots of sun, lots of heat. The lavender was absolutely thriving. And I think it was one of our record years for oil collection. This year, we've had another hard year. So in May, the lavender, that's when it starts to flower, especially our Folgate variety. The flowers start to come up. And then in the middle of May, I think it was the 12th and 13th, we had 2 nights of frost, which burned all of the lavender heads that had grown and killed them off. And so what had to happen was the plant basically has to restart from scratch, trying to grow new stems with new flowers on them, which is why it looks a lot different this year than it has in previous years. What did actually happen in our Folgate field, which is the Walks field that you'll go to, is where it's higher up in the valley, it didn't get hit by the frost as much. And where it was lower down in the valley, it got hit a lot worse. So the bottom is a little bit more patchy than it is at the top. You'll see that in a lot of our fields. But depending on the variety of lavender, changes when they flower. And so some of them did get hit by the frost as badly because they weren't as far developed as the other ones were. But yeah, in this field, obviously we've got all our rows of lavender. And what happened was the outsides were protecting the inside of the plant. So the inside of the plant was pretty much fine. And the outside got a lot more damage than the inside. And now we've had all this lovely hot weather, which obviously lavender absolutely is loving. It's soaking it up. The bit that didn't get damaged has gone perfect. It sprouted up. So now a lot of our rows have like this little Mohican, which is a very interesting phenomenon, and that's why they look like that, in case you were wondering. So now we're going to head into the passageway that we just walked past all the chairs, and you can sit down. There's apple juice on your chairs. My colleague Liv, she'll know her name now. She's going to have some biscuits out, some lavender biscuits. If you need any dietary requirement biscuits, like gluten-free or dairy-free or anything like that, just let her know and we'll probably have some available. So just head there, sit down, get comfy, and we'll finish seeing the process of the lavender harvest.
Yeah.
And the first 10 minutes of oil production produces our premium lavender. Have we got any aroma therapists today? I'm not going to get any corrections, great. So in the first 10 minutes, it's a lot of a lighter fragrance. It's a lot more, just a bit softer. And it's a lot higher in esters. I don't know what that means, but it's higher in esters. And then for the rest of the process is what we collect for the rest of the oils that we have. We distill it for an hour and 45 minutes. That's why we decided it's the best quality of oil. Any tea drinkers, could get tea drinkers in. Yeah. Any longer than that, it's a bit like if you leave your tea bag in your tea too long and it just stews it and tastes disgusting. Same thing happens with the distilling oil. So we've established that an hour and 45 minutes is probably the best thing. I'll let you guys come up and smell them in a little bit at the end. So we start off with just the lavenders that we grow. And then we grew some rosemary, which is actually becoming a lot of bigger things. I think we're planting some more out in our fields now as well. People are loving to put it in their hair, and stuff for hair growth, for hair health. So I think we're starting to look at that a little bit more. But we started to mix some of our oils together. So for example, we've got a steam scent here. We started off as a hot shot. And we've got lavender, which are both very good for helping you get to sleep. So we've made a blend of oils to help you get to sleep. So we've got hops, we've got lavender, and we've got lavender. And lavender is that 1% like that for a bit, like big colour in it. That's going to be waking us up. Why are we putting that in like something that we're trying to get us to sleep? And hot oil is quite difficult to work with. It's quite volatile, it can smell quite bad if you don't do it properly. And so the lavender is in there to just help stabilise it a little bit, make it smell nice. And it also helps open up your sinuses so you can actually properly inhale the lavender oil and help get you to go to sleep. So they started with just doing cat oil. That was their main thing. They started with the some perfumeries, but that was pretty much it. It's very good, but you have to mix it with the curry oil or like the oil burner and stuff like that. And he wanted something that you just pick up and use straight away. So we listened, he took that on board and started making ready to go products. So we've got the roll-ons. So we've got a Revive roll-on and we've got a Relax roll-on. And they're pre-mixed with carrier oils. What plant do we think is in the Relax? Lavender. Yes, and so in the Revive one, we have exactly 5 houses. So we made those went really well. And so we're trying other products. So all of our products get made locally. Don't always make them in-house. So all the oils and things we tend to bottle here on the farm. We label it up and everything here. There are some that we get up to months with. So for example, I think there's a lady owned towards way. and she sent her an oil cheese glass. So tin oil, or oil, things like that. And she makes us these balms. Likewise for our candles, we get that made locally as well. I won't say previously, just we want to have a very small carbon footprint if we can, especially with organised. We care quite a lot about that. So when we sort of started to permeate toiletries industry, have some surface cleaner and stuff, Caroline thinks, you know what I really want? Lavender ice cream. And so she started making lavender ice cream. But you can't really do it with oil. It doesn't sit as well on your tongue. And so we worked with a guy to make a cold essence, and this is a water-based thing. So extract the essence from our lavender, and that's what gets used in the lavender ice cream that we sell in the shop. It's what gets used in the lavender gin. It's what gets used for various different things. So we made it the cold one. Then we wanted to make a hot one. You can't use cold essence for things like baking. So we made a hot essence to put into biscuits, to put into cakes, and we send it to a company called Winspoon, and they make some chutneys for us. I live in Exford. I have done since I was 3, which is a village literally next door. And I've got a little sister. And when I was talking about height of this table, she was a little bit smaller. We and my mum and my dad and my granny and my grandpa and my sister, we came to the farm, and they had all of these out in a lavender garden, which we got over yesterday, and then we taste tested. And so I don't know if it was my granny or my mum, she was like, okay, whichever one you like the most, we'll get it for you. And so me and my sister were like, absolutely. So we went and tried everything, worked out which one. So we were sure which one was our favourite. And so my favourite was the lavender honey, and her favourite was the gooseberry and lavender jam. They don't actually let you taste them anymore. And I'm not going to say it's my fault, but you know, maybe we're a bit too crazy with that one. But yeah, so if you want to recommend it, that's what I'm going for. People do tend to have that misconception that our lavender honey is infused with the cold essence or hot essence. It's not. So we have about 30 beehives on the farm, dotted about the place, and the frames from the hives get collected as we harvest the lavender. So the honey is purely from the nectar that is collected while the lavender is in flower, and as soon as that stops being in flower, stops being harvested in the nectar, we get the frames out, and that's what gets filtered and put in our lavender honey. This is your wildflower honey, but this one is a lot more fragrant. You can tell that it's come from the lavender, and you really can taste the difference. The gin. People are going to ask me about the gin. It's an empty bottle, I'm afraid. I think it won't actually start. But Caroline and William, they wanted to go into the alcohol sort of area, and so they actually went to Mason Distillery and they looked around at the process that they had there. They really loved it, and so we send them our cold essence and they distill gin for us. They use our lavender infusion, and that's where we get it from. I think we also have a contract with National Trust and bodies in like Noble, like all sorts of National Trust places, which is quite interesting. Oh yeah, I mentioned tea earlier, about stewing tea and how long it takes to stew tea. We went past a brick building as we came in here, and it's called the Tea Barn. What happened was there was a guy who was a master lender at Twinings. I don't know why he actually did, and signed up to a company. And he rented that building from us. He came up with his own company called Blends with Friends, where you like go up to him and say, I really like these flavours, and I really struggle to wake up in the morning, or I really struggle to go to sleep at night, and he would make like a custom blend for you. And so we were like, you know what? We've got standard hops. You know, can you make us some blends? And that's how we ended up with our blends of tea over there. I'm trying not to talk to you too much. I want you to be able to just come over and smell them if you want. I don't want to talk at you any more than I have. You guys have been really lovely. You've been such a good laugh. It's been really nice to talk to all of you as we've been walking around. If you've got any questions, please let me know. But if you haven't, come and have a little sniff. You can head back down to the shop whenever you're ready. Go into the Walksfield, have a great time. Have bins and stuff, your bottles and everything else. on the way out there as well. Thank you so much.
Thank you.